Welcome to the January 2014 webinar on Protocol by Laura Reid, National Chair, Protocol Committee. I am Christina Ramus, Vice Chair, DAR Leadership Committee Webinars. During this webinar, members will learn why the National Society has protocol and how it evolved. Topics include officers and membership, common courtesies, endorsements, electing delegates and alternates and voting, DAR order of precedence, introductions, procession and recessionals, receiving lines, seating, and will share responses to frequently asked questions. Let's get started. The Protocol Committee was confirmed as a special committee in 1971. In 1977, it became an administrative committee. Protocol may be defined as the ceremonial forms and courtesies that are established as proper and correct, or as a proper etiquette for recognizing and honoring those in positions of leadership. The fundamental principles of protocol are dictated by ethics, courtesy, good manners, and common sense. The National Society established their protocol order after consultation with the State Department of the United States, which bases the order by position, not by individual wishes. We will now start with the highest-ranking officer and the National Board of Management. The President General is the highest-ranking officer of the National Society and is the only individual who can speak on behalf of the National Society. She is the honored guest at any DAR function and should always be given the place of honor. Should the President General designate another national officer as her official representative for an event, that officer is accorded the place of the President General. The State Regent is the highest-ranking officer in her state organization or state society and is the only individual who can speak on issues related to her state organization or state society. Article 4 of the Bylaws of the National Society lists the national officers and the state regents as members of the National Board of Management. There are two types of national officers: executive officers and vice presidents general, all of whom are elected by vote at Continental Congress. The 12 executive officers form the Executive Committee and were asked by the candidate for President General to run as a candidate for executive office to serve in her 3-year administration. There are 21 Vice Presidents General, 7 in each of the 3 classes. There are 53 state regents who serve on the National Board of Management. These state regents are elected by their respective state organization or state societies and represent the 50 states, the District of Columbia, Mexico, and France. In the absence of her state regent, a state vice regent may attend and serve on the National Board of Management with the approval of the President General. Each year at Continental Congress, 7 Vice Presidents General are elected, each to serve a 3-year term. The senior group of Vice Presidents General is the 7 who are completing their 3-year term of office. The newest elected group is listed last when listing all 3 classes. For the current year, the 3 groups are listed: Class of 2014, who will be retiring, Class of 2015, and Class of 2016. Within each class, the Vice Presidents General are listed according to the votes received at election. The first one listed received the most votes. The 7th one listed received the fewest votes of the 7 elected. No matter how the Vice Presidents General are ranked within their class, each has an equal vote on the National Board of Management. The position of parliamentarian is an appointed position and would have reserved seating with the state or chapter chairman for social events or meals. For business sessions, the parliamentarian is seated to be convenient to the presiding officer. Many times this is the first seat to the left of the lectern. If the parliamentarian has a vote, she cannot use it for verbal or standing votes, but she may participate on a ballot vote. The parliamentarian remains neutral and does not participate in discussion. The parliamentarian advises a regent. Only the regent rules. Next, we will cover honorary officers and membership. There are 2 honorary officers recognized by the National Society at the national level: Honorary President General and Honorary Vice President General. Each of these is elected by vote at Continental Congress and has a vote at Continental Congress. These honorary officers are elected for life. An honorary President General is elected at the conclusion of her term as President General. Article 5, Section 4C of the National Bylaws authorizes 13 honorary Vice Presidents General. No two can be from the same state, and a prerequisite is that the candidate has served a full term as a Vice President General. Chapter bylaws determine the election of retiring chapter regent as honorary chapter regent. Otherwise, all who have served as chapter regent are listed by seniority of service, with the one who served earliest being listed first, followed by those who followed in order of the years served. Regardless of honorary chapter regent or past chapter regent, the order is still by seniority of service. Although an individual may be invited to join DAR by a local chapter, she becomes a member of the National Society first. Her application papers are verified by the Office of the Registrar General, and once approved, she becomes a member by action of the National Board of Management. Each member is assigned a national number, which is always hers and never will be assigned to another person. Should she resign and decide to reinstate as an active member, her original number is reactivated as her national number. The last national number given to a member is always included in the Registrar General's report to the National Board of Management. This number reveals the number of women who have joined the DAR since it was founded in 1890. Next, we will cover when you should rise and attendance at SAR functions. At a DAR function, it is customary for members to rise as a sign of respect for the office when the President General or her state regent is presented, and also at the entrance of the processional. If the President of the United States or the Governor of the state is present, the audience should rise when he or she is introduced or when communications from the President or the Governor are read. Members should also rise during the reading of an official greeting from the President General to a state conference, but it is not customary to stand when the President General's message is read at a chapter meeting. The state delegation should rise briefly when the state regent comes forward to give her report at Continental Congress and at the memorial service when the state is called. Members rise when their state regent is presented at her state conference or when a guest at a chapter function. When a state regent is introduced as one of a group of state regents present, as at a DAR school function, it is not necessary for a member in attendance to rise when the state regent of her state is presented. The chapter delegation should rise briefly when the chapter regent is called upon for her report at a state conference and at the memorial service when the chapter is called. When a DAR member is attending a joint DAR and SAR function, the members of each society would wear his or her pins and sashes. When a DAR member is attending a SAR function as a wife or friend of a SAR, she does not wear her DAR insignia and sash. When a DAR member is invited to represent her society as a participating guest at an SAR function, she would wear her DAR insignia and sash. Participating guest would be as a speaker or as the official representative for the state regent, which the state regent would have asked the DAR member to represent her and so notified the SAR presiding officer. If the President General or the state regent is presented at a SAR event, DAR members in attendance would not stand. Next, we will cover voting. The National Bylaws, Section 2A of Article 6 designates that a candidate for Vice President General shall be endorsed by ballot at a state conference where she holds membership. This is the only office in the National Society which requires a candidate to be endorsed by ballot. Other endorsements for any office are courtesy endorsements and not required. If a courtesy endorsement is offered for a candidate for executive office, the endorsement may name the office for which the candidate is offering, but cannot name a ticket or the person heading the ticket. For state conference, all honorary state regents of the state, state officers, chapter regents, and a national executive officer who is not included in these three categories has a vote. Honorary presidents general and honorary vice presidents general who are members in the state are usually honorary state regents and have a vote. Chapters should elect as delegates members who are not already granted a vote by virtue of elected office. A past national executive officer who is not an honorary state regent or a chapter regent has a vote only if elected as a chapter delegate. Note that your state bylaws take precedence on the specification of those who are eligible to vote by virtue of office. For Continental Congress, the automatic voters are those elected to office by Congress, including the President General, Honorary Presidents General, National Executive Officers, Vice Presidents General, and Honorary Vice Presidents General. State regents and chapter regents, by virtue of their office, also have a vote at Continental Congress. Past national executive officers and past vice presidents general do not automatically have a vote at Continental Congress and would need to be elected as a chapter delegate in order to have a vote. When it is the appropriate time to elect delegates to State Conference and Continental Congress, your chapter members should consider the list of those eligible to vote by virtue of office. Delegates are elected at a regular chapter meeting, and the credential forms for both State Conference and Continental Congress need to be properly completed and submitted by the deadlines specified on the forms. The most important thing is that the chapter has voting representation at State Conference and at Continental Congress. Next, we will cover the order of precedence. One of the primary concerns of the Protocol Committee is the order of precedence for elected and appointed levels. Elected officers outrank appointed positions. National positions outrank state positions with the same designated office or appointment. Both national and state positions come before chapter offices and appointments. DAR order of precedence is listed in the DAR Handbook and National Bylaws, as well as on the DAR members' website. This is a valuable tool to assist you with introductions, seating for business sessions, meals, evening functions, processionals, recessionals, and receiving lines. There are times you may be faced with a situation that does not fit the order of precedence. Then you should use common sense, good judgment, and do what you think is right. Consult with your state regent when in doubt. We will now cover introductions, processions, recessionals, receiving lines, and seating. A past national executive officer and a past vice president general are introduced in her state according to when she served as state regent. In the state, an honorary state regent outranks a past national officer title. The rank of honorary state regent is considered an active position for life and gives her a vote at her state conference by virtue of her office. Her past national executive office or past vice president general position does not carry a vote at her state conference. An example of her introduction would be her name, honorary state regent, past chaplain general, and past vice president general. For chapter meetings, introductions and seating are the order in which your chapter officers are listed in your chapter bylaws. State officers are recognized in the order they are listed in the state bylaws. At a regular chapter meeting, chapter officers are not introduced. Each is recognized if she has a report. If time permits, at a special meeting such as Constitution Luncheon, chapter officers may be recognized, but this is not required. The pages carrying the flag should lead formal processions. First, the flag of the United States of America, followed by the state flag and the DAR banner. The order of precedence for those in the processional is the reverse of that for receiving lines, except during a business session when the parliamentarian should be at her place before the processional begins. At Continental Congress and at national DAR functions, the President General enters last. In her state, the state regent enters last. Recessionals are led by the pages retiring the flags. If it is a national DAR function, the President General leads first, followed by the others in reverse order of entering. If it is a state DAR function, the state regent leads first, followed by the President General if present, then the others in reverse order of entering. Receiving lines do not have to include everyone with a title, but if you include one individual from a category, it is appropriate to include all others within that category. For example, if you include one national chair in a receiving line, all other national chairs present should also be included. Receiving line should be as short as possible. It is helpful to have a trained hostess or page assigned to help move the guests quickly and politely through the line. At a state meeting, official out-of-state guests not in the category of visiting state regent are placed just after the visiting state regent category according to rank. Seating at a head table is planned by assuming the hostess or presiding officer is standing behind the table facing the audience. The order of precedence is then used to plan the correct placement of those to be seated at the head table. The hostess or presiding officer is seated at the center or the right of the lectern. The state regent is seated to the right of the hostess or presiding officer. The President General is seated to the right of the state regent. Remember, when the President General is in attendance, she is the main speaker at the most prestigious event. At a business session at State Conference, the first seat to the left of the lectern would be the parliamentarian. After seating the President General and the parliamentarian, seating is assigned, alternating left and right according to the order of precedence. Honorary President General, National Executive Officer, Vice President General, Honorary Vice President General, Honorary State Regents, Visiting State Regents, alphabetical according to state, active state officers in order of their official listing, as in state bylaws. At a business session, the active state officers need to be seated convenient to the main microphone. Honorary state regents could be seated on the first row to the right of the state regent or at a front center table. Visiting state regents can be interdispersed with the honorary state regents on the first row or center table. Hopefully this webinar on DAR protocol has been enlightening and helpful. You are welcome and encouraged to contact the National Chair of Protocol at any time by email at lauramreid@comcast.net or by phone at 912-232-6732. We'll now open the webinar to questions.